Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, senior editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com for another episode of the Steelers Preview. Joining me as always, Bryan Anthony Davis. What's up, Bryan? How are you tonight?
What is up, my friends? Oh my gosh, we're knee deep into it, aren't we?
Sounds like you're having a party over there. Everything good over there?
Yeah. There's a my daughter likes to host, and there's a sleepover going on that which that I just found out about. So it's like, hey, I've got a show. So
you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
If a pillow fight breaks out in the background, I'm sorry. Just grab a pillow and virtually join in. I don't know.
There you go. Dave Schofield, the editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. What's up, Dave?
Is a virtual pillow fight really a thing? That would be that'd be interesting.
I'm sure someone tried it.
We could try. We could do a BTSC pillow fight. There we go. Doing what? Ready for week 1 of the preseason.
Now, before we get started talking about the Steelers news, I wore this shirt on purpose, and if those that are live on YouTube can see it's a classic Pittsburgh Penguin shirt, and that's in honor of Mr. Mike Lange, who decided to retire. I know this is not a Penguin show, but I'm a Pittsburgh fan. That's what I tell people when they ask me, oh, do you like the Steelers? I'm a Pittsburgh fan. I like the Pirates, Penguins, and Steelers. Guys, I got to ask you real quick, what's your favorite Mike Lange saying after a goal? Bryan, we'll start with you.
I don't know if I have one. I mean, probably bingo game. Get in the fast lane, Granny. The bingo game's about to begin.
That's right. That's a good one. Well, is there any call that stands out in your mind? Like, is there a specific game, a specific call that sticks out for you at all? I mean, he did it for a long time.
You know what? Actually, there is. It was back in about 91 when they were going for the first cup. And he did a few of them. And I don't know whether it was Kenny Mayne or who it was on ESPN doing the highlights. And they just played Mike Lange. And he's like, buy Sam a drink and get his dog one too. He's like, okay. And then they do the next one. I was like, I don't know what he's saying, but it sounds pretty good. He's just saying all these ridiculous things, and they're just like making fun of him. I mean, I think they were making fun with him because you really couldn't make fun of him. But calling a game, you take all that stuff out of it. Calling the game, he's fantastic too without that stuff. But that's Pittsburgh, and that's what makes Pittsburgh radio and Pittsburgh sports great. I go way back to Lange Fratteri with no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Before you were even born, Jeff, before Dave was even born. Yeah, but, I mean, when he first came on, it was like 1979 in that season. And I remember, I mean, I was young, but that was the greatest thing. And then, of course, when I realized who Myron was and the glory of Myron, and I mean, way back, I didn't experience Bob Prince, but all those guys. Mike Lange is an absolute legend, great voice. I just got scared because everybody's saying all these Mike Lange things on Twitter, and I'm like, oh no, did he die? I mean, that's just like that's the first thing that goes into my head. But no, I mean, absolutely thrilling. I like what he said about the team coming in with Getzoff and the old 2-9er. You guys are in good shape with them, but no, I mean, it's not going to be the same. Just like losing Tunch, it's not going to be the same. It's still going to be good. They're going to find their own magic too.
Dave, what about you? I know you're a Penguins fan and you watch the games. Do you remember any Mike Lange calls that stand out?
I have to admit, I actually listen to more games than I watch just because during the regular season, if I know a Penguins game's on, I use my little app I have on my phone that tells me all the stations that play the Steelers, and I use it for the Penguins. So I listen to Mike Lange. He didn't do that many games this year, but I made sure I listened when he was. Absolutely love it. My favorite, I would have to say, although I said, call me Slick from Turtle Creek was what I put on your Twitter today, but actually, it's Michael Motorcycle. That's got to be the best one. But the most legendary one was back when Bryan was talking about it when one of those first cup runs was that you had to be here to believe it.
Yeah.
That moment, that was the one. That's the one that everyone should remember. When you hear Mike Lange, it should be that call on that game.
Supposedly, I saw on Twitter that he was asked what his favorite call was, and I think it was the 91 Stanley Cup, because 92, I think they beat the Blackhawks in the finals. Mm-hmm. And it was a great play. It was right off a face-off when Francis wins it back to Larry Murphy. Murphy with like the shot pass off the pad to Lemieux, and he has that great call, save made, rebound, Mario scores, and the place just erupted.
That was the one.
Yeah, it's always the save made, rebound, score. It was such a great call, and then just the hey, slap me, silly Sydney. I mean, all these things that he did. And it reminds me of the game that Crosby came back when he was out for a really long time playing against the Islanders, and he scored on a breakaway, and it gave you chills, and the call was perfect, and oh my gosh. So congratulations to a great career. Who do you all compare Mike Lange to Bill Hillgrove, or do you compare him to Myron Cope? Bryan, what do you think?
I don't compare.
No, but if you had to draw the comparison, because they have the sayings and they have the personality. Like, to me, it's more Myron than Bill.
It would have to be Myron, because Bill is more straightforward. I mean, I'll never forget Steeler Maniac Haven. This place is a Steeler Maniac Haven. Yeah. I mean, and he gets fired up and fun, but he doesn't try to be. He doesn't try to have catchphrases. He invents his own without trying.
That's true. Dave, what do you think about that?
I mean, he does play-by-play, so it's kind of hard to compare him to Myron, because Myron was the color commentary. You know what I'm saying? But I do understand what you mean by the kind of double yoys and things like that you always remember the various things they would say. Ha. So I get the comparison.
What's on your cranium?
Myron Cope on sports.
WTAE when he did the commentary.
When I think about Mike Lange, though, and people forget that his color commentary was Staggy, who eventually took over on the TV side doing the play-by-play. It reminded me of Major League when Staggy would just chime in every now and then. And that's like when he took over his play, I'm like, who's taking over? Like, Mike Lange's going to radio? Anyways. All right, let's talk about some Steelers. We're going to be previewing the upcoming game against the Philadelphia Eagles Thursday, and that's why we're on the air this Tuesday.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Good call, Dave. And so there's a lot of news to talk about before we get to the actual game this Thursday night. And I want to get through everything. My gosh, they might as well just call Pittsburgh the rumor mill. Everything is just seemingly a rumor, and it's a hot take, whether it's TJ Watt's contract or Joe Hayden, which isn't a rumor anymore. That was verified by his agent that he wants an extension. Kevin Dotson and the ongoing saga that is his quest to get back to the first team. And then James Washington wanting a trade. No, he didn't want a trade. Guys, what in the heck is going on with Pittsburgh and all these rumors? Is it just fans that are wanting any type of news, or is there some legitimacy to this stuff? Bryan, what do you think?
Hashtag Gossip Girls Gone Wild. That's what it seems like.
Gossip Girls. Why did they go wild? Like, why couldn't it just be Gossip Girls?
Well, Gossip Girls and Girls Gone Wild. I mean, it's just like, I mean, Dave had those videos back in the day on VHS. Girls Gone Wild.
What are you talking about?
You never heard Girls Gone Wild? That's what I was going to say. Dave, there's a little devil in there. I know it.
All you had to do was be watching TV at 12:01 a.m. and it was every commercial.
Girls Gone Wild.
And then you had Girls Gone Wild Mardi Gras, which was like, all right, I'm there at home. I'm like, oh, they've upped the ante.
Bottom line is, if they just take the hidden mic out of the beehive, we're not going to have these crazy rumors that we do otherwise.
Yeah, all seriously, Kenneth Beamer had them VHS tapes too. I love them. So here's the thing. It just seems like we're in the age, and I don't know if every other team has this, but everybody's got to beat the one to the tweet. Beat the tweet. You got to be there first. And we're making news out of something that in the past you really wouldn't worry about it as being news. TJ Watt, I'm not concerned whatsoever, because you have some factions, some in the some real journalists will say, hell, oh yeah, he's holding out. No, he's not holding out. This is agreed with the team from what I'm to understand. And so the team's aware of it and they're talking. And he's there. He's present. That's not a holdout. The James Washington thing started with Des Bryant. I mean, that was it. Des Bryant starts this and says, hey, if you want a good wide receiver, take my Oklahoma State Cowboy. Take him. He's going to be fantastic. Go and make a trade for him. All of a sudden, now, 6 hours later, it's Schefter's like, oh, yeah, sources say that he wants a trade. Let me ask you guys something. When you heard that, were you shocked? Because James Washington has never been that type of player. He's grandpa strong. He's the guy that just talks about work ethic and going to work and doing whatever he can. Dave, I'll ask you.
I'm sorry. I'm distracted. I got to bring this up to see it better. Check it out. Steeler Tank has a picture of me and him at a game as his profile. I'm sorry. That was good. Back to James Washington. And I even took the mask off. Okay.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah. I have to. Yeah, he came
Steeler Tank.
Great.
I hate to admit it, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Dave Schofield will autograph that for you for what?
$2.50. No,
$25 in the super chat.
Some people, I think, you read between the lines and you fill in things that you think that you thought. Was that an article that we used to have or somewhere? Things I think I thought. I don't know. Sounds like a Bryan Anthony
probably
Davis.
did that.
Yeah, it sounds like a Bryan Anthony Davis article right there. And but did you think that you thought? It's really, I don't know what to believe anymore, because then you can dissect words so much and try to draw inferences and try to say, is this what they're really saying? Between the TJ Watt stuff and the Kevin Dotson stuff, at least the James Washington stuff, Coach Tomlin just put it to bed right then that there's nothing that he knew of. Now, if Washington's agent reaches out to somebody else in the organization and they don't want to say, well, let's just, not even talk, maybe Coach Tomlin doesn't know because he doesn't want to know. We don't know about these things, but bottom line is, I'm just glad that story just kind of went away right now. But we want so much Steelers that we're ready to dive on anything. There was a debate going on Twitter with some of the beat reporters today. They couldn't tell in Coach Tomlin's press conference if he said it was or it wasn't. And that was a huge difference in what he was talking about, because they were asking about if they should draw anything from Kendrick Green getting all the work with the ones, or is that intentional?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That's what it was. It was, couldn't tell if he said would or wouldn't. And that just kind of went crazy for a little bit, but we just got to remember, calm down, take it all in. We don't need to flip out about everything right away.
Well, to me, out of all these rumors, Watt, Dotson, Hayden, Washington, if I'm forgetting one, remind me, the only one that actually seems to carry some water, in my opinion, is James Washington. If there's a guy that has a legitimate gripe, it's him. He's a second-round draft pick. He can't get on the field, and it's not because he stinks. This isn't Lima Swede. He's just in a ridiculous deep position group. And I'm sorry, people want to say, we need to get him snaps. Who are you going to bench? Who are you going to bench for him to play? Are you going to bench Chase Claypool? I'm not. Juju Smith-Schuster? No. Deontay Johnson? Again, no. So unless you're running 4 wide receivers out there, which we know that does not happen a lot in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, they'll throw Eric Ebron out there on occasion, but it's rare they have 4 wide receivers. And then they've been putting Ray McCloud out there. So I could see him having a legitimate gripe and saying, look, if you're not going to play me, send me somewhere. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm saying if we have a trade, let's make a trade, because he's in the final year of his rookie contract. If you're going to lose him anyways, what can you get for him? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I want him gone. I'm saying that if he does want to trade and there's someone that wants to trade for him, let's make it happen. That's just me, though.
I'm okay if they give him an extension, if they give him a new contract going to the last year of his deal. I don't think they're going to break the bank for him, but it's not out of the question.
Well, but why would he sign it?
Well, exactly. That's the thing. But at the same time, if he doesn't sign it, then he's probably going to feel like, well, they're just not going to showcase me at all because to bring my price down, so it could be a bit of a sticky situation, but like some people were even saying, oh, well, he should be playing over Deontay Johnson. If you read some of the comments about things, and I'm like, they are 2 completely different types of wide receivers. You have to use James Washington to James Washington's strengths. And I'm sorry, especially last year, the philosophies that they were going with didn't fit James Washington as much as it did other receivers. He's not that short, get separation right off the line, throw me a quick pass kind of receiver. And that's what the Steelers were running last year. So I also don't like the fact, you guys know when I asked this trivia question last year, Washington, Claypool, Johnson, Smith-Schuster. How many snaps were the four of them on the field for the same time? 6. 6 snaps they did together. Even when they went 5 wide, or a lot of times it wasn't 5 wide because they had Ebron out there. It was always Ray McLeod in for one of them. Get the 4 guys on the field together if you're going to have 4 wide receivers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bryan, anything to add?
You know what? I agree with everything you've been saying, but I'd like to quote somebody who is not afraid to quote themselves, our very own Mark Davison. If it's not news, if you don't read it, Mark D.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's too much. Good job, Mark. Thanks for quoting yourself. All right. Let's go into now. I was kind of ticked off. Mike Tomlin on Tuesday, he was in front of the media. And my gosh, you see coaches, and I only get ticked off because you see other coaches do this. Other coaches, they give you a list. Here's who's not playing. Here's who's going to play. Mike Tomlin, nothing. Like, he didn't even say Ben won't play. Now, we know Ben's not going to play. He said Mason's going to start, so yes. But
and he's going to do the same progression as last game, so that means Ben Roethlisberger on the sidelines.
Correct. No, you're right. You're right.
He wouldn't say Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play.
Right, so why doesn't he just say Cam, Ben, and Joe Hayden aren't going to play? He did it last week. Say it again. Who do you think – let's do it this way, because in terms of who's in and who's out, give me someone that didn't play last week that's not a rookie – that you think is going to be inserted in. And again, we're not thinking like Pat Freiermuth is going to play. He's a rookie. Yeah. We get it. Who's someone that you think that maybe is on the fence that's going to play? Dave, you seem like you're ready. Why don't you go?
No, I was going to say we could just bounce names back and forth.
Yeah, that's fine.
Bryan, you got a name?
Yeah, Stephon Tuitt.
No,
he's not playing.
He hasn't even practiced.
You don't think he's playing at all?
He hasn't practiced at all.
He hasn't practiced yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I got one. No, he drives himself out. I got one. You ready? Melvin Ingram III.
I agree. I think he's going to play.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for Jeff's answer.
Trey Turner. There's
a good one
to play. There's one that we did not play last week that I think we'll at least see some snaps. Bryan, do you have another one?
Well, I was
practiced.
Joe Hayden.
No, he's not going to play.
Okay, guys. I wasn't ready for that.
I got one.
Okay,
ready?
Go.
Who's the core for?
Good one. I'll go with Zach. I'll go with Zach Banner. This is
I think he will too.
Okay, because he's been in and out. I'm sure. I think Zach Banner plays. Bryan, you want to go again?
All right. I don't know if he played last week. He probably did. But Trey Edmonds. Is that a good one?
Trey or
not Trey? Terrell, Fedarius, whatever his name is. I quit.
The problem is we're on Tuesday nights, and Tuesday nights are half-price beverages at the Beehive, and that's where Bryan's used to hanging out. He's not used to being here with us, and he's missed it 2 Tuesdays in a row, so he's just trying to come.
Kenneth, we know the answer to the question, have you been watching practice? And that is no. That has not been watching practice or following our live tracker.
All you got to do is follow the tracker. I could put everything there for you to know. It's everything that's going on.
Hey, wait a second. We'll have to have a talk with the podcast producer about firing him.
Whose turn is it?
Is
it Jeff's turn?
Yeah, I'm going to say Devin Bush. I think Devin Bush is going to play.
Okay, that's good. I got one.
Go.
Your guy, Jeff. Jordan Berry.
Weasel Boy.
Yep.
Hello. You think he's going to play finally? How do you think they're going to split it up half and half?
I do. I think they'll split it. But I think he'll be out there this time.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do quarter or something like that. They could. Barry has the odds.
Well, just even every other one.
Yeah, either one, yeah. Let's see here. I do think Terrell Edmonds might get in there. I don't think Minka's going to play. But Terrell Edmonds missed last week.
You couldn't even get
Bryan,
the name of what player it was,
Trey.
Brian.
But I said Fedarius. It's
after you said Trey.
Yeah, well, all right, I actually have one.
Go ahead, Bryan.
Deontay Johnson.
He played last
week.
God bless it. I didn't notice.
Did you watch the game last week? It's a good thing he wasn't on the post game because he didn't even watch it.
He caught the first pass.
Ben Roethlisberger.
BTR is not going to play.
Oh.
Okay.
No.
I am excited. I know I said that this wouldn't count because he's a rookie. I am excited to see Patty Freiermuth. He's been getting rave reviews in training camp. I mean, rave reviews. Is Bryan frozen?
He's either frozen or has a crazy smile that isn't going away.
Okay, that's fine.
That's too much.
Anyone else, Dave, that you can think of?
Going through it. We said Trey Turner. Anyone else? Kevin Dotson.
Yeah.
We didn't bring him up.
With the twos. What do you think about that situation, Dave? I mean, to ask you since you're an O-line guy.
I'm not allowed to say because apparently I went on and on and on and on and on about it on Scobro Show. So I'll try to keep it short. Bottom line is, I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked Rich. If Alex Highsmith got injured the very first practice of training camp and missed 2 weeks, would you expect him to run with the ones ahead of Melvin Ingram his first practice back?
So he hasn't practiced at all.
If his first practice back after 2 weeks, would you expect him to automatically just go ahead of Melvin Ingram?
Probably not.
Okay. Even then, if Chase Claypool would have been in the same situation where he was out as of the first practice and missed 2 weeks, do you think he's going to be one of the 2 or 3 wide receivers who steps on the field the very first play when they go teams?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I do. He's a stud. He was a stud last year.
But just because it's his first time back. So now you bring it up to Coach Tomlin, and now it's a big deal. So now it's almost like, and people, and because he said he hadn't worked is the thing. When it's there, people are saying, oh, see, he wasn't working hard. That's not what he was saying.
Right.
He was saying he hadn't been at practice. He hadn't been out there working with the whole rest of that team. He's a second-year player, a 4th-round pick, day 3 pick. Good way to put it. A day 3 draft pick, had 4 starts last year. Coward has 15 under his belt in the NFL. So to just come in and just hand it to him, it makes sense why they do it, but he's going to be there eventually.
Yeah. Bryan's back. Welcome back, Bryan. Glad to have you.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're talking about TJ Watt and his holding out and asking for a trade and
we're not.
Oh no, I don't know.
Bryan just needed a reboot.
Yeah. I the Kevin Dotson thing. I get it. And here's where I am on this. This is Mike Tomlin speak. Mike Tomlin throws those little nuggets out there. He throws that stuff in, and Dave's absolutely right. I'm just guessing what Dave said. But when I guess what Dave said, I know exactly what he said, and it makes sense to me. So here we go.
All right. Very good. Let's go with some expectations for this upcoming game before we take our first break, our only break, really. What are some expectations that you have that might be different from last week? Because last week, we all say the same stuff. No turnovers, all this stuff. How do expectations for you change going from the Hall of Fame game to this week 1 game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly? Bryan, we'll start with you.
First thing that I'm thinking is that they're going to play this game in Philadelphia. So I expect them to be in that part of the state for this game. So that's my first expectation. They are playing in Philly, right?
A bad joke.
Okay, well, yeah, I tried. I've got nothing tonight. I've been exposed as not knowing anything else, so that's all I've got. My other expectation is that Bell and Blunt aren't going to get caught in a smoke-filled car before going to the airport to Philly, like it happened years ago. Now, you know what? I expect. Now, actually, this is what I want to see. I don't know if I'm going to expect it, but I'd like to see a little more tighten up defense, like all that over the middle stuff that we saw last week. It just looked like they were in the 2-minute drill. The Cowboys were in the 2-minute drill, and the Steelers were in prevent the whole game. And that's the way it felt to me. So I'd love to see the defense show a little bit more of what they can do to get those guys accustomed to it, because it just felt like they weren't showing their hand at all. And made me wonder if they weren't playing their defense.
Not bad, Dave. What about you?
Well, first to go to what Bryan said. I think we're going to see that same thing this game. It might be the following game that we might not, is that they were in their typical vanilla defense. They were in bend but don't break mode. Is basically what they were doing for the game. And that's what they did. They gave up yards.
They blitzed a ton early in that game.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they weren't giving up anything over the top. They were, keeping the receiver in front of them and tackling the catch, things of that nature. And they dug in their heels and gave up 3 points on the night. So I understand what you're saying. I don't know if we're going to see anything much more fancy this week. It would be nice, though. I'm going to say it's about – now I can't remember what I was going to say.
My gosh, this show's off.
Pre-snap penalties.
It's preseason.
No, I keep hearing my own voice coming from Bryan's computer, and it's messing me up.
Why is that?
I don't know.
That's weird.
See my last statement about how this show's awful right now.
Yeah. The Steelers did a really nice job. They had no false starts, no illegal formations, no defensive offsides, and no too many men on the field on defense, no delay of game on offense. These are the type of things that you want to see, that they are getting their information and everything they need to do. They're getting personnel on and off the field. They're getting lined up properly in order to run their stuff. They did fantastic with that in the Hall of Fame game. The problem is the only way you can go is to maintain or to drop off. And Coach Tomlin was not very happy with practice yesterday on Monday. You could tell by his post-game press conference that he felt that they were sloppy. Today, all they did for practice was they stretched. They did 7, they went out late because of a storm. They stretched, they did 7 shots. They got called, practice got ended because of a storm. But if you look and see what happened in those 7 shots, based on the reports, the offense was bad. I mean, 2 false starts and things like that. And I think the defense won 5-2. That's not what you want to have on your last day of reporting for practice. Leading into a preseason game. I'm kind of a little bit concerned now that it might be a little bit more sloppy in game 2 than what it was in game 1, because you have a tendency to then take those things for granted that you did them right the first time.
Whenever someone says the word sloppy, I think of the scene from Billy Madison when the lunch lady is giving them their sloppy joes.
Make them extra
sloppy for you. Lady, you're scaring us. Anyways.
And we're back.
We're back. And Mark Davison put this in the live chat. I'll put it up here. I can't believe I didn't realize this. I can't believe I didn't forget this. Holy cow. Joe Flacco is on the Eagles, and they're going to see Joe Flacco. I totally forgot.
Yes.
Wacko for Flacco is in Philly now. That gives me something to watch. We get to see the Steelers beat Joe Flacco's head in again. Go ahead, Bryan.
I need to correct you on that, because in Baltimore, it was Wacko 5 Flacco. And I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world. Living in Maryland, all these Wacko 5 Flacco shirts. I'm like, stop it.
So anyways,
it just goes to show in the preseason that you don't really pay attention to who you're playing against. It's really about what you're doing.
Not at all. But this is exciting. Now I get to watch Joe Flacco get sacked a bunch, hopefully a bunch. But I'm going to go with expectations that are different for me. I thought that the Steelers in their situational football wasn't that great. I want to see better third down on offense and defense, especially defensively. I can't get that Ulysses Gilbert III blown tackle on 3rd and 10 out of my head. I mean, he played it perfectly. Catch underneath, tackle the catch, get off the field, misses the tackle, they get a first down. So just clean it up. So we'll see. Other than that, that's about it. So any other expectations? I mean, obviously stay healthy. We know that. But yeah, Mike Tomlin, he wasn't very happy. I don't think he was happy today either. I know Ben Roethlisberger's pretty ticked off today with the false starts and stuff like that. So
you know what? I do have another expectation, and it's simply I'd like to see if Haskins and Dobbs could pass more, because it seemed when a lot of times with the Pittsburgh Steelers and under Mike Tomlin, it seems like in the second half, it's more of a runny. I mean, that's a lot of run is what I'm saying. So you see whoever starts the game, and the rumors are that it's Mason Rudolph starting the game again. If that is confirmed and correct.
Mike Tomlin said that today in his press conference.
Well, someone else asked and he said yes.
Correct.
So with that, you look at, I mean, I don't want to see check down Dwayne. I want to see him throw the ball to see if he can throw the ball. I want to see more of Joshua Dobbs throwing a football. I know he could run. I know what he can do. And I know Dwayne can check down. But I want to see what he can do throwing the football to receivers. So that's what I'd like to see.
Let's see him with some receivers. Let's see him get Mason out after 2 drives and let Dwayne or Joshua go in there and see what they have. Go ahead, Dave.
It's kind of, but you got to remember the other thing you want these as much as that's what we want to see, think about the punt returner. The punt returner that wants to go out there and shows what he can do, or the kickoff returner. And like Coach Tallman says, he's like, we need to trust that when you need to make a fair catch, that you'll do it. Or if you're downing it in the end zone, that you're going to do it. So the same thing with Haskins. If they were playing way off of the receivers and just weren't going to let them do anything deep, he's got to show that he can read what the defense is doing and take what he should be doing. And if that's what it takes, as long as he's moving the ball down the field and finishing drives, that's also what you got to look for as well.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. For those that are on the audio side, head over to part 2. If you're listening live on Facebook or on Facebook or YouTube, we're not going anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the second part of the Steelers preview. I'm Jeff Hartman, senior editor at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Joining me as always, Dave Schofield and Bryan Anthony Davis. We just talked about expectations. I want to get your all's thoughts on some training camp battles. And I have an article that's going to be running on Wednesday. I think it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I basically went through all the training camp battles that we had going on prior to camp starting. And I want to see where you think it is as of right now. So you all ready for this? Yes? All right,
no,
let's do this.
but
okay,
let's try it.
You haven't been ready for anything. It's fine.
Okay. I had one more expectation, and that was
go ahead.
For Bryan to actually watch the game so we can discuss it afterwards.
That will be important.
Watch every single snap, buddy.
Let's get to this.
Didn't know if Deontay Johnson played though. Okay. Let's go with the center position. So we're talking about the battle that was between Hassenauer, Finney, and Green. We all know Dave brought it up at the press conference. Everyone was like, well, did Tomlin say that you shouldn't read too much into Green getting 2 starts to start the preseason? Doesn't matter.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
After one game, how do you see this shaking out at the center position? Bryan, we'll start with you.
I graded the other day Mr. Kendrick Green, or I'm sorry, Quadric Green, Dave. I apologize. Mr. Green, number 53. It looks like they are grooming him to be the starter. And the way he played in the game, he got a lot of push in the Hall of Fame game. It seems like he's winning that battle already, but we haven't seen that much of anybody else. I think it's almost like I'm sure we're going to talk about the other battle, the big battle that Jeff's concerned about, but it's almost, so I'm not going to bring those players up, but I am going to bring up Kendrick Green and say, if he could continue to be consistent and get the kind of play that we got from him in the Hall of Fame game, then the job is probably his. If he reverts back to looking like a rookie, because I thought he looked pretty good the other day. I know there was some problems with snaps in practice, but there was not a problem with the snap from him to Mason. It was a bobble between Mason and Chase Claypool. So I was not as concerned about that. So if he plays clean, that battle's his. I think right now he's got to be the front runner.
Dave, what do you think?
I was surprised at something from this past game. Do you know that Kendrick Green played the least amount of snaps on the offensive line out of any player? That kind of blew my mind.
Because I wrote the article.
Because you did the article on it.
Right.
That surprised me. That Hassenauer played 41 and Green played 18. So they brought Hassenauer in to play one series with the other guys that were running as ones in that game before they then switched into the other 4 guys, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I still kind of feel like it's Green's job to, I don't want to say lose. I'm going to say to not grab, because he's being given every opportunity to do it.
To not grab.
I mean, yeah. If he doesn't get the week one starting job, it's not from lack of a chance to show what he has. He's been given the opportunity day in and day out in practice running with the ones. Every time when they start practice and they go to do 7 shots, they like to list out who's the offensive line. I try to put that tweet in the tracker article every day, and it's been Kendrick Green. So he's getting his chance.
Well, and it's funny because Mike Tomlin did say, should we read into this? And he said, you shouldn't. And then he followed it up with all these glowing remarks of Kendrick Green and his work ethic and how he's adapting well and varsity level stuff. Mm-hmm. Unless Kendrick Green starts throwing snaps over heads or bouncing them or fumbling, it's his job. I think that's safe to say it's his job, like you all said. All right, let's go to another training camp battle. Let's talk about guard. This wasn't necessarily one that was talked about a bunch, but now all of a sudden, Rashad Coward has injected himself into a pretty important role. Guys, what's going to happen at guard in terms of the depth? Not necessarily starters, but who do they keep? You got Hassenauer who can play guard. You have Finney who can play guard. Finney, I don't think, played any snaps at center on Monday night. So what do we have going on with the depth at guard? Bryan, go ahead.
I think the guy that is the most susceptible to being cut would be BJ Finney out of the 3. I would think that. I think that they're high enough on Hassenauer with the fact as a backup, being able to play both positions. And if it's a situation between the both of those, I think Hassenauer wins that face-off. Now, a lot of people in the live chat will do not want to see that, and I get it, but I'm just saying what I think will happen. Now, Coward came out of nowhere, and when I say came out of nowhere, the fans, when they signed him and when they signed Joe Haeg as well, when they signed both of these guys, there was no excitement over it. There was really no fanfare whatsoever. They were being labeled as camp bodies, and I think Coward came out in that game the other day and proclaimed that I am not a camp body, that I can go ahead and hold down my job here. So I really think that if it's if it's the 3 and 2 go in, it's not going to be Finn. But if the front runner right now for that backup guard position has got to be Coward based on what we saw.
All right, Dave, what do you think about the guard position?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the exact opposite end there as one Brian Anthony Davis. I think BJ Finney and how he played in the Hall of Fame game and the fact that he stepped in at guard, and in my opinion, he's a much better guard than center. I don't think there's any way Finney doesn't make this team. I haven't talked about him enough because I was one that said, hey, we don't have anything from 2020 to go off of because he wasn't even good enough to get on the field for Seattle. And then after he got traded to the Bengals, he couldn't get on the field there either. But you know what? He was on the field on Thursday night in the Hall of Fame game. I can't remember what day it is. He played 24 snaps. And not the PFF grades or if they're the end all be all of everything, I'm not saying that, but Jeff did the article. Finney was the 3rd highest ranked offensive lineman. Okay. He did very well because they had him at guard. From the very beginning, I've had Rashad Coward on this team because I thought, he actually brings in some experience at guard. And right now he's your starting left guard for now. So that's why I'm thinking that's the way it rolls out. So we weren't even talking about guard yet, but we kind of got there because of the BJ Finney thing, right?
Yeah.
I have Hassenauer possibly not making the team.
I have Hassenauer not making the team. And boy, what a damning thing that would be because he's the starting center on the depth chart right now. I think it'd be pretty fun.
They didn't change the depth chart.
I know.
They left guys' names on there that aren't on the team anymore.
I know, which is hysterical in its own right. Let's go to the next position. The training camp battle is running back. This one's got interesting because of an injury, and that was to Benny Snell. Kalen Ballage has played well, but now he's hurt, and he's probably not going to play on Thursday. We know Najee's making the team. Who else makes it? I would think it's safe to say you agree or disagree. Najee, Ant Mac are on the team. Anthony McFarland. Who else makes it? How many do they keep? Let's throw the fullbacks into this mix as well. Bryan, what do you think?
Well, let's start with this and take a look. And the one guy that I'm going to talk about here as that I think is as good as gone would be his 1.9 average, and it's Jalen Samuels. I think he's done. And unless he goes absolutely crazy in a preseason game and breaks a few off, I just think he's at the bottom of the list right now. Kalen Ballage did a lot of power back things in that Hall of Fame game. Then he did get hurt, but he is one of the things that he's being counted on as being is an inside the five runner. You know, your goal line back and somebody that you could really count on. So I'm thinking that that's a guy that we look at here as a possibility to make the team if he can be healthy. Benny Snell's got to get into camp and be able to play and be healthy enough. I mean, he's in camp, I get it, but he's got to be healthy enough to go to see what he can do. But Kalen's got a nice head start in this race.
Okay, Dave, what do you think about the running backs?
Well, it's interesting because, I'm working on our 53-man, our projected 53-man roster. I said I wasn't going to believe in Ballage until I saw him do something in black and gold, and then I saw him do something in black and gold. And he seems like he would be the kind of runner that could fill in for Najee Harris, not as a change of pace back, but just come in if there is an issue, as often happens, as I've said over and over again, if of missing part or a full game due to injury. I liked what I saw, but here's the key: he can miss this game and still be fine. I think then he's got to get back for the next one. I agree with Bryan. I did not, unless they're going to keep Jalen Samuels to use him completely at a different way in a Matt Canada offense rather than just running back, where they're going to, it's the H back or wing back or something like that. Unless they have plans like that, there's not a good reason to hold on to him after what we saw from the Hall of Fame game. And Benny Snell, it's funny. I'm not ready to dismiss Benny Snell yet because we haven't seen him, but there's a good chance that when we do, then we could dismiss Benny Snell. So it's like right now, I'm not ready to get rid of him yet because we either need to A, see him out there and not be very effective, or B, him never get out there is what's going to happen to keep him off of it. I would not be shocked. We know Derek Watt's going to stay as the fullback. They could, other than fullback, keep only 3 more running backs like they used to do rather than the 4 or 5 that they've done at times last year if they wanted to keep a player somewhere else.
What do they do with someone like Trey Edmonds, too, who could be a backup fullback? He can also be running back, special teams guy. He can throw a wrench into this plan.
Well, to me, he's one of those veterans that you want to keep on the practice squad if he doesn't get picked up by another team.
Okay, Bryan?
Gentlemen, I want to make a plug when we talk about Trey Edmonds, not Terrell, but when we talk about Trey, what I want to say is check out Jeffrey Benedict's show that debuted this morning, actually debuted at noon today. It's From the Cutting Room Floor, and he talks about Trey Edmonds and some of the things that he had done in that game the other day as a fullback and as a possibility to make this team. It was really interesting. So if you want to, get really good film study and really good information on these players, on the roles that they play and the possibilities, Trey Edmonds was one that he highlighted, and that's an interesting battle. But I still think that a guy like Derek Watt probably has the advantage, but you never know.
Yeah. Let's go to the most important training camp battle now, and that is the battle at punter. My boy Big Press and Weasel Boy Jordan Berry. So we didn't see Jordan Berry at all last game. I was surprised by that. I honestly was. You all can tell me if you were surprised. But still, how do you see this playing out? How do you see them handle this? Do you think that this is Big Press's job to lose, or is this still a battle for the rest of the preseason? Bryan, we'll start with you.
It's really interesting because what a lot of people are saying about Jordan Berry in camp, that he's having a heck of a camp. But Jordan Berry is what I like to call fool's gold. He'll look good early and then just fall to pieces. I remember going to a game. It was Pat Mahomes' first game second game as a starter, week number 2 against Pittsburgh in 2018, I believe. And it was really funny to watch because when the Steelers were stinking up the game at the beginning, And here comes Jordan Berry into the game. First punt, and I'm sitting in the end zone down low. And what's he do? He shanks one for about 18 yards. And that was after the week before where he was terrible. He's a guy that they've tried to get rid of. Like I said the other day on the show, if you missed it, I talked about Duke from Rocky. This man's no good for us. I saw you beat that man like no man's been beat before. And the man just kept coming back. And so that's kind of the situation we're looking at. I hope they look at history here with Jordan Berry, because he does not give you a full 16-game season. He won't give you a full 17-game season this year. Presley Harvin III has an opportunity here. I like that, Presley the Harvin. PDH has an opportunity here to be a national sensation. That was a nationally televised game the other night, and who was the NFL Network talking about in this game? Who was ESPN talking about? Everybody was talking about the big punter for the Steelers. And that was a big deal. They were talking about this guy. He's not safe. He's not Corliss Waitman. He's not going to hang out on a practice squad all year. He's gone. So you got to look into the future. You got to look into the crystal ball, and you've got to decide that this guy, if he has growing pains, it's fine, but you've got to turn the page. And the face on the next page, the centerfold on the next page is Big Press laying there like this.
Oh boy.
Burt Reynolds in 1978.
So Dave, what do you think about Presley the Harvin III or Jordan Berry?
Yeah, well, a few things. First of all, some of the live chat said one shank punt can cost you a game. Absolutely. I was there when the Steelers lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home in
Mike Glennon. That was a Glennon
game. The Steelers made the stop on fourth down when they were up 4 points to win the game, and fans started leaving. I'm like, they still got 2 timeouts. And I'm like, it would have been fine, except it was Brad Wing, Shankopotamus, right? I think they got it inside the 40 or around the Steelers 40. And that's how they were able to score that touchdown with 4 seconds left. It was ridiculous. So yes, a shank punt can cost you a game. Let's just say this. Presley Harvin is going to be on an NFL team as their punter this year. It better be the Steelers, because if they release him, everyone else saw what he did in that game. Someone else is going to pick him up. Jordan Berry, if he doesn't make the team, he's probably going back to Australia. Jordan Berry, he is like my brother-in-law playing cornhole. That is, when he's matched up against someone, if someone throws four bags off the board, he's going to throw 4 bags off the board. If someone throws and puts all 4 on the board, he'll put all 4 on the board. If they throw 3 in the hole, he'll throw 3 in the hole. He only plays as good as the competition he's up against. And that's what's going on with Jordan Berry. When you have someone in camp that's going to threaten his job, he'll be out there and he'll go out and do what he has to do to win it. But when he's there all by himself and it's his job, he kind of crumbles.
Presley the Harvin. I forgot all about this. I'll bring this up. Boing Boom Shack says Jordan Berry calling his own fake in Arizona. Forgot about that play when they played the Cardinals. And remember, he just took the ball and ran. He got peeled. That was the only positive from that play. But anyways, let's move on. Let's get through these quick. We're running out of time. Let's go to the tight end backup. Tight end 3, Gentry versus Rader. Zach Gentry versus Kevin Rader. I want to make sure Bryan knows who the players are. Bryan, quick, who you got in this one so far?
Number 87, Kevin Rader, is blocking like a champion. So I'm going with him over the former Michigan quarterback, number 81, 6'8", Zach Gentry. Booyah.
What about you, Dave?
Not off my game tonight.
Did he get the numbers right? I missed it. I was too busy.
You got the height and the weight right. But I don't know if you got their numbers.
I was too busy laughing
right. 87
at Andrew Wilbar saying with having Brad Wing with John Harbaugh with Wing It with Lang. That's fantastic.
Great podcast.
Yeah. I had first said, how do you bring it back now? I first said Kevin Rader because I thought he plays great special teams and blocks well. Zach Gentry's been having himself a camp as well. I think Gentry's going to get the nod. I don't know that Rader would get picked up by someone else so they could keep a fourth. It might be that the Steelers value running 2 tight end sets and might want to keep 4 tight ends rather than 4 running backs.
Yeah.
That would not shock me if they kept an extra tight end for that reason. Because if you do, you don't need the extra receiver because in essence, Ebron's acting as a receiver more than an actual tight end, if you think about it.
Yeah. No, I'm all aboard. If they keep both of them, I would be 100% on board with that. Let's go through some more here. Quarterback. We're talking about QB 2, 3, and 4. So we know BTR, Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins, Joshua Dobbs. It's a tough one. Brian, go ahead.
Number 2, it's Mason Rudolph right now. There's nothing he did to lose his job on Thursday. So I would go ahead and say number 2 is number 2. And then you look at number 3, and that's just, we need to see a better sample out of Dwayne Haskins. We know what Joshua Dobbs can do, and we know how much Ben Roethlisberger values him on the sidelines as a sounding board. But the thing is, what kind of future do you have in a guy with pedigree, and can that pedigree come back? Can that pedigree show itself again? And so that's what this camp is for. They're seeing some stuff that we don't know about. And when Dave gave that answer about why he was checking down, that makes total sense, and I completely agree with it. But I want to see what he can do in a game when there's 2 minutes on the clock and he's got to run that 2-minute drill and throw it down the field. I want to see what he can do as well. So right now he's done nothing to say there's a reason for me to stay. But right now, Dave, no one else is number 2. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah. Like I said, a lot of people, however you felt about things going into the Hall of Fame game, you're not going to feel different coming out of it. Those people that want to get rid of Mason Rudolph tried to say he played terrible when he played, once again, PFF scores more than 20 points higher than the other 2. That's just what it was when it came down to it. But you've still got to look at, are they processing things right? Are they making the right decisions? Are they doing what they should do in all the circumstances? I always said that I wasn't going to put Haskins on the roster until I actually saw him do something in black and gold. He didn't show me anything that would show that the Steelers shouldn't keep him around, but he also didn't do anything to blow me away to show that he's there. It's a deadlock right now to me.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have 3 more games to decide.
That's the thing. I was just going to say, this isn't going to get decided. And let's get, and I'm back. Let's go. We're going to leave the training camp battles. We're running out of time. I want to get this. I did a little over under. We're going to do this real quick, and then we'll give you some trivia. Okay. Let's do, for the upcoming game, Pittsburgh offensive touchdowns, over under 2.5. Dave, we'll start with you.
2.5. I'm going to go under. I'm going to say 2. I'd love to see 3, but I'm going to play I'm going to dial it down a little bit because last week I went crazy thinking they were going to score all these points and they didn't. So, you said offense. Why was I thinking passing touchdowns? I'll go over. I'll say 3.
Okay. Brian?
Under 1.
I'm going to say under 2, and I think they get a defensive touchdown. So that doesn't count. So I'm going to take the under. Next, points surrendered. So this is the defense giving up points, I guess, or special teams. 12.5. Dave, what do you think?
Under.
Oh, very nice.
Which
Brian?
is funny. My sport prediction was over when I did it on Skillbro, but I'm going to say under.
Okay. Brian?
I'll go say over, but slightly. I'm looking at 16, 17.
Okay, I'm going to say under because Joe Flacco is on the team. Sacks for the Steelers defense, so getting after the Eagles quarterbacks. We'll set the line at 3.5. Dave, what do you think?
Over. I thought you'd go 4.5, and I'd still go over.
Yeah, because I don't know. It just seems a little different. Brian, what do you think?
I'm going to say under, and they'll get 3.
Okay. I'm going to say over with 4. So here's one. This is not over under technically, just a question. Out of the 3 quarterbacks I'm about to list, tell me which one won't have a touchdown pass. Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins, or Joshua Dobbs. Brian, go ahead.
Joshua Dobbs.
The only one they have on last week. Okay, that's fine. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to say Joshua Dobbs because I think when it's all said and done, they're going to even out eventually.
I'm going to say Rudolph will not have a touchdown pass this game. And then lastly, is a fun one. Will Mike Tomlin call a timeout not in a non-2-minute situation? He did not call a timeout at all last Thursday night. Dave, we'll start with you.
No.
You don't think he calls one?
Not the Steelers, where Tomlin calls the timeout. Meaning,
yes.
if the clock's running down on a play and all of a sudden Haskins has to turn and call a timeout rather than a delay a game. If we're counting that.
No, that would be Haskins making the call. I'm saying
Tomlin calling it. Nope.
Brian,
he wants to get out of there.
Yep, no way. And Dave's right. He wants to get out of there.
All right. That's it for me. Let's go with Dave with some trivia.
All right. This was inspired by Jeffrey Benedict's and my Vertex article that will be running on Wednesday at, I think, 11 a.m. at behindthesteelcurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. It was interesting because we were actually breaking down the punts by Presley Harvin the third. Oh, sorry, Presley the Harvin third. So that we were doing it, but Jeffrey brought up the whole notion of where I should look up and see how does the opponent's starting field position, how does that affect what how well the Steelers defense does? I went back and looked at it. I looked up if the Steelers can pin their opponent inside the 10-yard line, how many touchdowns do you think they've given up, both regular season and postseason, since Mike Tomlin became head coach in 2007?
I'm going to go 3.
I'll say 5.
Yeah, you're nowhere close. It's 17.
Jeez.
No, but if you think about that over those number of seasons, that's not bad. But here's the big thing. Do you know how many they've had in the last 2 seasons? 1. And that was against the Bengals this past year in the game that they won, the 36-10 game. Now, just to give you an idea, how many touchdown drives in that same time period from 2007 through last year where they started inside their own 10-yard line? How many times do you think the Steelers on offense has scored touchdowns since in the Mike Tomlin era?
20.
I'll say 14.
Inverse your numbers there, Brian. 41.
41?
Wow.
41 scoring drives that ended in a touchdown when they started inside their own 10. So when you say you think 17's a lot, that just put it in perspective. When you're talking about, 14 years it's been for Tomlin now? Yep. Yeah. So that means that they're having multiple long touchdown drives per season and giving up barely 1 a year.
Well, how many times did Weasel Boy actually pin someone inside the 10 last year?
See, that's the thing, was how I have, hold on. I just have to look it up here real quick. Well, unless Bryan has some, well, I don't just have it Weasel Boy. I have it in total, because remember, he was not the kicker all year. But last year, the Steelers defense came on the field with the other team having the ball at the 10-yard line or further and more inside the 10 or less, 14 times. 14 times they gave up 1 touchdown. One touchdown, 1 field goal, 9 punts, 3 turnovers. And that's all laid out in tomorrow's Vertex.
There you go. Brian, do you have trivia?
Yeah, I actually have a good one that I just thought of, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're talking about punters like crazy, and it's a sensation. In 1983, the Steelers had a rookie punter. And that rookie... Pardon me?
What year did you say again? I missed the year.
1983.
83. Thank you.
They had a rookie punter who was a barefoot punter. And what was his name? He wore number 17.
was born in 1983. I don't know.
You don't know that?
No.
Dave?
I know just because I've been doing a lot of punting research. Who the punter was?
So give it to me.
Oh, hold on.
Yes.
I just got to remember. Hold on.
Barefooted punter. I think the University of Texas.
I had this because I just researched this, but now why is it? I'm getting confused because it was Kolku came in 78, and because I was looking at ones that were drafted, it was. I don't remember because Colquitt was the punter in 83, right? I was thinking you were saying it was someone who started because I knew actually who all the punters were for them through then. But yeah, Colquitt was the other one who punted in 1983.
Okay, then it was 1982, and Andrew Wilbar, who must have looked it up. There's no way that he knows who John Goodson is, but so
because it was the strike year. Yeah, they had a different punter that year.
So what was it? 1982? Did I just get this?
Yeah, in 82.
Okay,
Yep.
So it's John Goodson. Now Michael O'Malley's mentioning John Goodman. Now John Goodman was a defensive end who wore number 95 for 3 years on that team, and he did not star in Roseanne.
Okay. Any final thoughts for this week? Or are we calling it a show? Bryan, are you? Yeah.
My final thoughts are: I need some sleep.
Yes. Good final thought. I like that. I could get down with that. Hey, Dave, any final thoughts?
Yeah, we're going to get more data. I said it before. It would be nice to have data. Now it's better, No, but I said it before. We have a baseline now to base everything off of. So now we get to see, and I will be honest with you. If you guys look back, obviously you can't for 2020. The Pittsburgh Steelers generally don't do as well in their second preseason game after their first preseason game when they come out much more crisp. If you're going to see these things fall apart, they take them for granted more in the second. So I'm expecting them to be not as, maybe a little bit sloppy or maybe extra sloppy for you on Thursday night. So we'll see. Hopefully not.
No, you kids like them sloppy. All right, that's it for us on the Steelers preview. Next week, we'll be back to our regular scheduled time of Thursday night based on the fact that the Steelers don't play till Saturday next week. So that's it for the Tuesday shows for the time being, at least for a week. So in the meantime, hey, make sure you check us out on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com and all our podcast platforms. Search Steelers or Behind the Steel Curtain. Subscribe, follow, do whatever you have to do so you don't miss a thing. Why don't you send us out, Dave?
Hey.
See you next week. Go Steelers.